Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of our Leading Voices series. We are honored tonight to welcome back to University of the Pacific a two-time alum, Pete Carroll, head coach and executive vice president of the NFL's Seattle Seahawks. Coach Carroll is also the founder of Compete to Create, a high-performance training company headquartered in Seattle. Coach Carroll also has been a leading voice nationally on social justice issues, and he recently founded Amplify Voices, a social justice media platform. The Pacific graduate is one of the premier coaches of his generation in any sport. Before joining the Seahawks, he served as head coach of the USC Trojans and head coach of the NFL's New York Jets and New England Patriots. In fact, Coach Carroll is one of only 3 football coaches who have won both a Super Bowl and a college football championship. Coach is the mastermind behind the Seahawks' renowned defensive unit. Seattle's Legion of Boom led the NFL in scoring defense for 4 consecutive years, the first time that has happened in modern NFL history. Coach Carroll is married to another great Pacifican. Many of us had the pleasure just a few weeks ago to hear from Glenna Carroll, the first woman to receive an athletic scholarship at Pacific. Both Pete and Glenna Carroll continue to support our students and our university. Coach Carroll, welcome back to University of the Pacific.
Well, thank you, President Callahan. Appreciate being here. It's exciting to be part of it. We love our school. We're proud of it, and whenever we can be part of the activities and stuff, we love to. So appreciate it. I hope that there's some teammates out there and some old schoolmates and whoever's listening. I hope you enjoy. I'm glad to be with you.
Good. Thanks so much, Coach. And we also know how busy you are. Congratulations on a great start to the season. We know that will continue. So, Coach, let's start off. You're known as just a world-class motivator of people. Can you talk a little bit about your personal philosophy about how to empower people, especially young people, like today's Pacific students, and how much more difficult is that when facing great challenges such as we're all facing today with COVID-19?
Well, the process of developing a philosophy, has to start somewhere. And somewhere back in my days at Pacific, as a graduate student, things really started to come together. And I didn't know for years and years and years what I was doing. I was just acting on my instincts and kind of my upbringing and the people who had influenced me. And I had spent a career working my way through coaching that, I had fortunately struggled early, as we all do, and then found some success and was, afforded some opportunities to keep working at it. And not until the years really I was going to and entering the New England Patriots head coaching job that I written and got fired a couple years later. But that at that time I was really getting close to starting to understand really what I represented in terms of my thoughts and my feelings and all of that. Coming out of the New England situation, I was out for a year of coaching. And while in Medfield, Massachusetts, I figured out some stuff to help me get prepared for the next stage of my career. And in that time, all of the things that really needed to come together to get me thinking in the right direction started to materialize. And I was writing everything down as quickly as I could and as thoroughly as I could to find really the process of self-discovery that I had to go through to figure out really what was important to me and really what I did stand for and what uncompromising principles could give me the structure that would give me the guidelines to go ahead in the next jobs that I would have a chance to get, because I'd been fired a couple times. I'd struggled quite a bit, and I needed to get my act together. And fortunately, leading into the USC opportunity, I discovered that I'm a competitor. In a clear way of defining myself. I've been competing my whole life at everything I'd ever done. And in making that clear statement known, so many things came into position for me. And I started to have a clearer sense for how I could structure a program that could be built on competition, where the central theme would be competition, where we would design a program, we would compete in all areas to find a relentless pursuit, in finding a competitive edge in everything we're doing. And all of that came together at that time where I still didn't have it all together, but I had a really clear sense for what I wanted to take the next step with my mentality like. And I got the opportunity to go to USC. And we just totally went for it. It was a program that was struggling and in dire straits. And everybody thought it was a bad decision for me to go there. And I kind of hammered on the way in. But I was so headstrong at the time. I was so prepared to take on that challenge that we just, kind of just put our head down and went right through it, and things started to turn. And what I found in the program over the next, really was 9 years at USC, is that we had found a way to care for people in a way that I think separated us and made us somewhat unique, in that what was most important for us was to help people find their best and be the best they could possibly be, and compete to help them grow as individuals and grow as competitors, and help them through their process of finding their own mentality and their own identity. And in doing that, we developed a whole culture around that. And it was a culture of competition first, and always forward thinking and having fun, and the highest standards that we could come up with for the work ethic and the excellence that it takes to perform this game at a really high level. And in the process of it, we turned a program into it was a powerhouse through those years. And we won so much and so consistently and had so much fun doing it. And then we won championships and bowl games and all of that. Well, I was later, telling you this story because I want you to understand how this happened, that I was eventually offered an opportunity to go to the NFL. After all of the success we had at SC, I thought I would never leave there. I thought it was going to be a place I'd end my career at. But there was one challenge out there on the professional level that I hadn't succeeded at. And I had been fired the last couple times I was there. And after the years we had developed a mentality and a culture at SC, I wanted to see what would happen in the professional ranks if we took a mentality of loving the people that you coach and caring for them so much that you would do whatever you could possibly think of doing to help them find their very best. And even in making that transition from college back to the NFL, I wasn't clear then that is exactly what I was doing, but I uncovered that the clarity of how simple it really is. That the philosophy is about always competing. That's what I've been driven by for years, and the simple theme of helping people find their best and finding a way to compete in a way that they could understand that you cared so much for them that you would do whatever it took to help them, created a culture of achievement and performance that has taken us to another level here in the NFL. We're really, for the last 20 years, we've won 10 or more games for 20 straight years now. And so the philosophy and the approach that really is based on competing was really driven by the mentality that if you care for people, maybe more than they could even feel like they deserve, that you could help them find levels of achievement, and they could find the connection to the sport that they love, and uncover the passion and the perseverance that drives a person to really be at their best. And so I'm thrilled that it's taken this course to get to that, but it's now it's so clear to me now. It seems so simple. I don't know why I couldn't figure it out all those other years. It just took me a long time. And once we've uncovered it, we've been really able to share it, not just in our football, but in our family life and in our personal lives and in the corporate settings. And we're really excited that we've been able to share our mentality and our approach with others outside. So that's a long story, but that's really where it all came from.
No, we appreciate that, Coach. And Coach, you talked a little bit about the failures that came before your unbelievable successes. How important were those failures to get to the level that you're at now?
Well, I hate to learn the hard way. I hate to learn the hard way. But sometimes you just gotta get knocked down before you can get back up and realize that you can stand taller and you can stand firmer and you can be more committed. And getting knocked down at the Jets when I got fired there after 1 year, that was just it was a shock to the system. But yet I felt like I hadn't even had a chance to show what we're all about. So that didn't hurt me. It was uncomfortable and all that. We got back to the opportunity at New England and got 3 years under us there. Got fired again, and I just didn't sanction the decision at the time. I wasn't able to unload the philosophy like we wanted to. There were some restrictions there. It didn't feel right. So I didn't feel like we had really, I'd had a chance to put my best foot forward. And so that didn't knock me down either. So when I was lucky enough to find another opportunity and so fortunate to go to USC, that was really the stepping off point where, everything took shape. And it really meant that by believing in yourself, if you keep hanging, if you really do believe in yourself and you really have, a true sense of that, then you can withstand anything, and you can find the resiliency that's necessary to go ahead and make things turn in the positive direction for yourself.
And that perseverance and that resilience, I would argue, more important today than ever before for our young students as they face some significant challenges that you and I never faced when we were college students.
Yeah, the challenges, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about the challenges of today that we're facing, and the challenges that are in our world and that are being debated right now as we speak, about partisanship and divide and really discontent and the social setting that we're dealing with, and is so challenging. Not to mention the pandemic and all of the rest. We are right in the heart of the pandemic and negotiating and navigating our way through it as we go through this season that we're after, which we can talk about. But there are so many challenges, and you're right that what we have found over the years is that you can help somebody find their passion, and you can help somebody find reasons to hang tough and to get tough and to stand strong against adversity. And if you can help instill a reason to hope, then they can have the resilience that is so powerful to help you bounce back and overcome the odds and stand tough. And that's really all about grit. It's just about what grit is all about. And we have made that's so clear to the people around us that our guys they're strong-minded. They are from, and our young people, they need to find the way to connect with those thoughts. Those simple thoughts about passion, perseverance, and resilience are the elements of hanging in there till you can find your own success and develop your own ability to make the things happen you want. It's really important it helps so much to be optimistic. It helps so much to see the bright side, and that's what we find that our role is so often calls us to help people see the reasons why they should consider the success is still alive and the potential is still there. And that's where the inspiration and the motivation comes from, to help people find reason to keep hanging, because we are the ones that are in control, and so if we help people find that, then usually they can find their way.
Coach, you've spoken publicly and you've spoken eloquently about race relations in our country, about the need for white people to keep growing, to keep learning, as you say, to be coached up about our past and our present. Can you talk about the importance of these social justice issues to you personally and how you tackle these critically important issues with your team?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, President, because this is a topic that a lot of people need to get in this discussion, and they need to learn how to hear things and see things that have been right there before us throughout our lives and through hundreds of years of lives before ours, and not really been responded to properly. We have people of color in our culture here in America that have suffered so dramatically for so many years and had to hang tough for so long just to endure, just to survive. And there's a time that's happening around us right now that has been brought to the forefront of our awareness in a way that maybe it has never happened before. There was, enormous changes that happened in the 1860s, and there's enormous changes that happened in the 1960s. Well, none of those changes have really brought forth the changes that that are still necessary today. Here, another 60 years later, but this is a new time for us, and the 2020 and all that's gone on and all of the challenges that are here have brought a new awareness, I think, of the need to listen, to hear people of color and the issues that they have dealt with, and they've been screaming and crying about it and wailing about because they had no other choice. And we have not heard those cries, and we have not responded to those cries. And white people have not listened to those cries in the way that they need to. And fortunately, in my career and in my family's careers, we've been raised in a multiracial environment, and we've had the opportunity. And I'm not saying always understood at all, and really not until even most recently understood, to the point where I would come out and say something like, I'm talking to white people, that we need to open up to there's a new day here ahead of us. There's a new time for a new empathy that lays out there for us if we'll just listen and open our hearts to what has been screamed at us for years. And that's to understand that everybody needs to be loved, and everybody deserves to be respected, and everybody deserves to be heard. And you know, this is not new to my language. It's just new to my heart. And unfortunately, it's taken so many years to get to the point where I'm willing to I'll talk to anybody about anything that has to do about race right now. And I hope that more people who have not had the opportunity to hear the cries are ready to listen. You can see the expression in the protests around our country. They've gone multiracial. It's been recognized across the board by young people and middle-aged people and old people of all backgrounds and all races. And that's what needs to happen for us to have a chance to start to move the needle here, because legislation that has to take place and all the things that have to take place to make the changes won't happen until it comes from the heart of the people who do make the decisions. And so that means there's a big, big job out here. So in our how we deal with it here is upfront, as straightforward as you could possibly deal with it. We want our players to teach us what they know and what they've learned and what they feel in their hearts and the lives that they live and the conscience that they grow with, so that we can come to understand that in a way that most white people never have the opportunity to understand and relate to. And it's just crucial that we continue to do that. So the people who are hearing the message must speak out. And I appreciate so much the work in all of the direction that you set this university in, because you understand where this needs to go and where the doors that need to be opened and how we need to be receptive and all that. So it's a huge deal for us right now. And Black people they need us. They need us to come through. We need to hear and listen and respond and react and legislate and vote and do all of the things we need to do to make things turn. We can't miss this opportunity. We just can't afford to. It can't go to another cycle. And I don't know how we could live with that thought if we don't act now and respond properly now. So I don't know. There you go. Go from there.
Well, thank you. Well, let me just say thank you for your leadership on this topic, and your voice is such an important one as people discuss these social justice issues. So thank you. And I just have to ask: are you surprised that we're still where we are on social justice issues 40 years later? I mean, would we have lost that bet?
Yeah, the discussions and the outcry is not that different than it was really in the 1800s, you know, and in the 1600s when nobody was listening, you know, and so the fact that it's come all this way and the civil rights movement took place and all of the changes and the things that changed to some extent, we didn't follow through and respond the way we needed to really fix the environment that we're in. And the law enforcement issues have really raised it to such a point because it's so glaringly obvious, you know, of mistreatment and justice not played out properly and all of that, you know, it's unbelievable that we have not been able to right this, because all people, our country was designed under a great design. They said all of the right things and wrote the right words and put it together in the right order, that all men are created equal. And that's just has not been followed through on. And so until that happens, we're not right. And that's our job for those of us that hear it, you know, that way.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, let's take you back to your Pacific education, and can you talk a little bit about how that shaped who you are today?
Yeah, well, you know, I was just kind of an athlete playing ball all through my early days, and my high school career was not academically was not such. You know, I went to junior college coming out and out of high school, and fortunately, Chester Caddis and Walt Harris, a couple famous old coaches that some of the people that are listening might remember. They found a guy at my junior college that they really liked, and I got to take the same visit with him when he came up, and somehow they threw me in, you know, on the trip. And fortunately, back in those days at UOP, we played a little basketball on Saturday in the middle of that weekend visit, and I kicked butt that day. And the coaches kind of liked the way I was competing in this, so they offered me a scholarship. And that was like the only scholarship that I had offered. It was the only opportunity that I had, and so I was going to make the most of it. And things worked out so beautifully in the years that I was there, and wound up turning into an opportunity to come back to the university and be a graduate student and go and get my teaching credential and my graduate degree in physical education after graduating in business. But it wasn't really until those years in my graduate years really in the graduate courses that I took that the light turned on. And in those days, Dr. Glenn Albaugh, who became my advisor, from my dissertation, my master's teacher, the courses that we were taking in sports psychology of sport, the class that I took in the religion of the body from Dr. Meredith, who I know is listening in, those were life-changing times for me. And they you went, how did it affect your life? Well, it really did. And in that, all kinds of things changed. And I don't know who that is on the screen there, but there was a golden time in there when so many things happened. And really, I owe so much to really Glenn Albaugh for giving me the guidance and what we needed to hear and what we needed to be awakened to about what was going on in sports. And my philosophy has grown from that time. I was changed from that time forward, and I didn't realize it, but it had all of the impact that I needed to get going and kickstart a long time coaching career.
Our audience is particularly blessed tonight because they don't have just one great legend of University of Pacific, but two, because Professor Meredith is with us. And I don't know if Professor Meredith can unmute just to say hi. Is he?
You won't keep him quiet.
There he is.
Am I supposed to speak?
Yeah, it's your turn, Doc. What's up?
Well,
they took your religion of the body class. Pete,
yeah, you mentioned my body. My class was the
Religion
body,
of the
the
body.
religion of the body. Well, you came to me one day, and every student had to have a special project. And you came to me and said, Dr. Meredith, I've got a project, but I have to have your approval. I said, okay. And said, there's a woman here that I really like. And I think I want to marry her. Would you consider that as my contribution to the class? And I said, if you can get a woman to marry you, that's almost religion in itself. And so you came, and we went to, what happened was, you said, okay, can we meet out at some place in grassy and where some water is? Because I have a woman, and we're talking it, and we think that maybe for this class, we could make that our project. And I said, well, marriage is probably the most difficult project you will ever have, so let's try it. And so he said, okay, and he came out and he brought food, and he had spread out a blanket, and it was out on the river in Stockton, and it was just a beautiful day. And sure enough, they wanted me to marry them at the end of this picnic. And I thought, well, that's very good. Let's see how well. So I asked each one how they felt about themselves and the whole process of human behavior and children. And anyway, they each one, for a little while, talked about how they felt about the world, how you should act in it, and what you should expect out of people who marry and children. And it was just a wonderful discussion. And I had asked them to do it. And then I said, they got to one point, both of them talking, and I said to them, I think it's time. And I then had them hold hands, and we all stood together, hands around each other, and then I did the marriage to them there and pronounced them husband and wife. And it's just been a marvelous thing. I just go back and think all the time about that time, by the river with the grass and picnic and people who were so alive and honest and wonderful to be with.
Professor Meredith, that is such a beautiful story, and I'm so glad that you were able to share it with all of us. And I know Coach Carroll is very appreciative. He speaks of you all the time, and you truly are much like Coach Carroll, you are a Pacific legend. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you for being. We're wonderful being here. I have my wife and. Okay.
Terrific.
Okay.
And now, but everybody's going to start yelling at us because you and I have been monopolizing Coach Carroll, and we want to have our guest be able to answer some questions. And there are some old friends in the audience. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Christopher, who will help guide us with some audience questions to Coach.
Yeah, excellent. So we have a great queue of questions here already. And our first up is Trey Moorhead, class of 24, so one of our current students.
Hello, Coach.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Trey.
Good. How are you?
Really
so my
good.
question is, what advice would you give to someone interested in becoming a coach, and how has attending UOP made an impact on you becoming a highly successful NFL coach?
Okay, Trey. Before I answer that question, could I just say one thing? Just to Larry and Pat. Larry and Pat were both there at our wedding. There was only 5 of us there total, and it was the most cherished moment of our lives. And Larry, and to ask me really, Trey, about how the university, affected us. Well, think of what that all started, Larry. When we were married there, and we've been married of souls ever since, because we all got married that day, with you and me and Glenna and Pat and Glenna's sister that was there. It's so grateful for you remembering exactly how that happened. That was what it was, and so thank you so much. We love you forever. So it started with, really, Trey, let me take you back a bit. Thanks for the question. It started with loving the game that we worked with. I loved playing all sports, but football was always my favorite, and being so connected to it. I started coaching when I was a freshman in high school. My high school coach had me go to his summer camps, and I'd coach Pop Warner kids to earn my way to his camp. So I was coaching them from the time I was 14 years old all the way through high school, all the way through college, and so I had a real connection to it. So how do you get in coaching? Well, I think this endeavor calls for great passion, because the game itself is fun and exciting to be a part of, but it's so much more than that, because what you are is you're a teacher. You teach throughout, and you don't just teach and sign them through the course. You live with the people that play for you, and you take them to such places, and there's so much emotion involved, and growth and challenge and inspiration and all of the things that go along with it. That how you be a coach is you feel it in your heart so much that you can't do anything but that. And if you don't, you're going to wind up doing something else. And so that's where it begins. And getting started at Pacific was really important, because Pacific was a smaller program, and when I was asked to be a graduate coach there and to come back, I was able to. They had such a small, limited size staff that I got to coach a regular position like a full-time coach, even though I was making $400 a month. That it was like the hard times, like always, the tough times you get through and you grind through, the love and appreciation just to kind of be part of something that's bigger than yourself, really just drew Glenn and I to the whole world of coaching. When we left Pacific and was a graduate assistant again at the University of Arkansas, that's when I saw college football up front and personal on a really high level. And boy, I was gone. I was totally bought in, and going to pursue it forever. And that's really what's happened since then. So I do think what I'm saying is it's so much of it comes from the love of the game and the love of the teaching and the connection to the competition, that you get to take part in with other people and to try to build something special. It's a marvelous way to do your stuff, but it's not for everybody. You got to really be involved with it. I see you got the Niners on there. I used to have those on my wall too. I was a Niners fan growing up, so people don't understand that, but that's a good thing. I like that. See the Giants, the whole thing. Me too.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Wonderful. Next up, we have another student, Alyssa Hershey, class of 23.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Alyssa.
We're big Hawks fans over
there
here.
You go.
Good. How are you?
12, go 12s.
My question is, knowing someone with amniotic band syndrome, did you think that signing Shaquem would be as impactful as it was? And how do you think that's impacted the young disabled community?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if you watched this play this weekend, but Shaquem went crazy in the end of the game. Yeah, he did great. It was really fun to see that. Because of his brother, first of all, we met Shaquem through Shaquille, and Shaquille was such an amazing kid, and we loved him so much that well before we followed Shaquem through his senior year, he was a year behind in eligibility. So we followed his season. So we were really tuned into him. And so we knew the whole story and the background and all of that. And really, I just fell in love with their love for each other. These guys are so bound together, and they're just one, and I thought that Shaquille had such power on our team, just in being such a great character on it, that if we could double that up, it would be worth it, and it just so happened that Shaquem is a tremendous player and athlete and competitor and has a great heart as well. And we got double the good, and so it's worked out great, and I'm so thrilled that he played so well this weekend, and he'll be in the game plan against us again this week. And his brother Shaquille had a big interception in the game too, as we all saw. So he's just been a great part. Great to see the 12s are out there, and I hope you guys are having fun during the games too.
Yes, we'll be watching.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right. Marissa Carpenter and Janae Packard, class of 22.
Hi, Coach. I'm a
Hi
big
there.
Seahawks
We're
fan.
12s. All right.
I was just wondering, what is one thing that you wish you would have learned earlier in life?
Oh, good. Well, I wish I could have learned earlier how important it is to work at figuring out who you are. I felt like I just so far through my life, I was just having fun. I was just enjoying stuff and wasn't really caring about a lot of things. I was so scattered and so fun loving that I missed out on a lot of opportunities to grow early on. And it took me a long time to get kind of, centered. And it really took my wife, Glenda, to help me figure the world out and how to, get serious about stuff, because I was just having so much fun and enjoying things that I could have grown a lot more earlier if I'd got my act together. So I was kind of footloose and fancy free for a long time as I was growing up, and I there was a lot of opportunities that I felt like I missed along the way. And so that really, what I really am saying is I wish I would have been more mindful. I wish I would have had the ability to be more mindful of things that were going on around me and be more connected to them, so I could have had more impact on them and had more opportunities to grow too in the other way. So mindfulness.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we have another student, Emma Torres, class of 24.
Coach, it's an honor to meet you. I wanted to know, what was your most valued lesson that you learned from UOP?
Thanks, Emma. Gosh, there was some really, really cool things that I learned. I'm just going to make it. This is not like the most, high level type of thought, but Dr. Alba introduced me to an author when I was there, and his name was Tim Galway. And Tim Galway taught me. I mean, there's about 3 different authors that made a big difference in my life, and I hate to leave anybody out. But Tim Galway was the guy who wrote a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And as simple as this sounds, that philosophy that he had about performance, and how to quiet your mind and how to find the quieted mind to act upon and perform with. just affected me in so many ways in my life. And I've lived my life with the understanding of that. And Tim he just had we met him at a dinner one night in San Francisco, and just when his book was coming out, and at the time I had no idea of the impact that he had on me. And it wasn't until years later, but it was really the discipline that it comes from that centering, that didn't just have to do with coaching or shooting a basketball or any of that kind of stuff. It had to do with finding focus in your life. And that's why I mentioned mindfulness just a second ago, because it's related. And that was really one of the most important elements that I ever came upon. And I didn't know when it was happening. I wish I would have realized it, but later on it really came true. And it's been part of the whole success that I've been able to find, because it's helped me help other people perform really well and at a high level, to the point where I coach teams like they're all one person. And there's just some marvelous things that came through it, and very grateful for that, and really go all the way back to Dr. Albaugh for that. Thank him. So you might want to check out the Inner Game of Tennis.
I think I will. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
All right. Next up, Aaron Gill, class of 22.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time for talking with us. I know it's get busy before the game against the Dolphins. And I just wanted to say, even though I despise the Seahawks, I got a lot of love and respect for you, because I grew up watching the USC Trojans. They're my favorite team to watch. And I actually have two questions. I know you have questions to get to, but I wanted to ask two questions. One, after you guys lost to the Packers last year in the playoffs, I'm curious, what do you say to your players in the locker room knowing that there's going to be changes and you guys didn't reach your end goal at the end of the year? And then second, is there any update on Josh Gordon?
Okay. First off, I can't talk about Josh. Okay, we're not able to, so I can't. Aaron, I'm sorry, I can't answer that part of it. But unfortunately, when you lose the last game of the year in the NFL, then you're never satisfied. And you didn't fulfill your goals. And sometimes you achieve things that you're proud of and all of that, and that you're grateful for. And which I'm always grateful for our seasons. But like in this season after the Packer game, we came up short and weren't able to get that win on the road. It was really to get – it's always to get to the truth. Aaron, to me, after the games are over, win or lose, championships or not, it's to get to the truth of what happened. And I've found that over the years, if that's why we have a thing, Tell the Truth Monday, but in the locker room it starts. That's getting to the essence of what just happened, so we can start the process of putting the performance into some kind of place where we can make sense of it and move ahead positively and constructively. And so that's that we talked about, what just took place. And the hard part is the heartache of you've just lost your chance of, winning a world championship is so intertwined in all of that. There's a real sensitivity that it takes to encompass all of the hearts, because everybody's different, and everybody's got their own way of looking at things. And so there is something to that. And, I don't try to say too much, I don't try to go too deep, but I do try to connect with them and tell them that we love them and we love everything that they did and stood for. And hopefully we'll be better because of this, that kind of stuff. There's been a time, I'll give you one other one, like when we lost the national championship to Texas, in the last, 19 seconds of that game. That would have been the third straight national championship, which would have been ridiculous. And we're that close to doing it. What do you tell that team? That's to say that we've been a championship team for years, and you guys are champions. And 19 seconds isn't going to define who you are. It's the time that you've spent together. Those words came to me then, which was to me was really my favorite thought, because that was really the truth of what happened. They've still were champions. So the hard part is to find the clarity to get to the truth, and then not say too much and screw it up, and then try to get out of there and get to the next meeting is really what it's about. Yeah, and I like the fact that you don't like the Seahawks. That's okay. Nothing wrong. I see you got Russell getting hit right there. So we love to compete against you guys.
Thank you. Looking forward to the two matchups.
There you go. Take care. Good luck.
All right. Next up, we have Eric Nolasco, class of 21.
Hey, how's it going, Coach Carroll? Nice to meet you.
Eric, how you doing?
I was wondering, the NFL is such a high-profile business, always facing pressure. How do you deal with, adversity that you get from, the media and organization, from players sometimes? How do you deal with that as a coach?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's everybody deals with adversity and everybody has challenges, and they come in all different ways. And it doesn't really matter where they come from. It's just they're all, they're hurdles for us to get over. Well, likewise, in answering Aaron's question, it's really important to stay connected to what you believe in. And if the challenge is when other people challenge you with their differing opinions or their concerns or their thoughts about stuff. It's finding a way to stay the course so that you don't get knocked off course, because the worst thing that can happen is it affects you and the scrutiny enters into your thinking process, and no longer are you operating clearly connected to your true identity, and that's the challenge of it all. So that it comes from knowing who you are and knowing what you believe in and knowing what's important to you, and then being able to stay strong with that and not allowing the outside opinions or the whether it's media or whatever to knock you off course. And sometimes it's most challenging, and so there's a discipline to that. There's a real discipline to that, and that's dealing with the things that you can control. And you can't control what people say about you. You can't control what the media says. You can't control, what's coming from outside in sometimes. And when you can have the discipline to stay in focus with those things that you do have within your command, then you can endure a lot and you can stand strong, and then you can find the clarity that gets you back on course to doing the things and operating the way that you're best and most capable of. And so, what I'm saying is it takes discipline, and it comes from that discipline, and that strength comes from having a real good sense of who you are and what you're all about. And that's just a challenge to figure that part out. That's not the easiest thing in the world, but believing in yourself is really the essence of it, and you can withstand anything as long as you do that.
Appreciate it. I have one last thing, Coach. How does it feel coming from UOP, and then, bringing yourself all the way to the NFL, being as successful as you are?
With great pride, because I've always felt, and I don't get to, to take people along that trip as much as I wish I could, but all of the people that I grew up with at UOP, and particularly the guys I played with, I love that they get to see an extension of our days at Pacific still out there battling, and I know that, and I'm going to say this to anybody that might be listening, that, you think that I'm so busy that I can't, I couldn't see you or I couldn't talk to you or whatever. I wish I could see all of the people in the different places that we play or the towns that we go to share with them what it is I get to do. And because it really is fun. It's really a lot of fun, and there's a lot of cool stuff about it. And I'm always disappointed that I'm not able to take more others with me along the way. So, that's it. I'm grateful for all of that, and I'm really grateful to represent. I really wish that we still played football at Pacific. We all do. It was something that made the university a really cool place, and all that to go along with all the wonderful things about the school. But I've always been prideful, and the fact that my wife Glenna too was a terrific performer there, and a great student at UOP also. It's a real family thing for us, So we love the school, and we love taking them wherever we go very proudly.
Well, I appreciate your time, Coach, and I respect everything you do. Good luck on your season.
Thank you very much.
All right, another student, Savannah Fitzgerald, class of 21.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering, what do you look for leaders in your team, and what qualities or attributes do you find that are most effective?
Good. The first thing I'm looking for guys that people that have this undying desire to prove that they're worthy and prove that they got to show something, prove that it's important to them to be who they are. There's a connection between high achievement and this inner drive to prove that you belong, that takes people well beyond height, weight, speed, talent, whatever, where they come from. It doesn't matter where they come from. It's really who they are. And so I'm looking for great competitors. And I mean, there's a number of ways that I talked about that, but it's the competitiveness, it's the grit that they have, which we have defined, and it's the chip on the shoulder. It's that they will not be denied. It goes right back to they almost always, those people have great passion, and they can't hide it. They have this ability to hang tough. They believe in themselves, and they'll push themselves through things that are really hard, and they don't mind doing that. And that they they believe in themselves so strongly that they're not going to be, denied. And so they finish really well, and they're people that have to, that's what I'm looking for. So I'll say one more thing. So those are really defining terms of grit. And I'm not just looking for gritty players. I'm looking for a gritty team. I want my team to have all of those same elements, which starts with passion and perseverance and resilience. And they have this dying need to finish, that's what we're looking for. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, and it looks like we actually have one of our coaches on here, James Graham. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Coach Carroll.
Hey, what's up?
That's one of my players that just talked to you right there. She half stole my question.
Okay. Way to go, Savannah.
I was wondering what do you find the difference in the approach and mentality of the most successful people are compared to people that aren't as successful? And then if you were to finish this statement, you can't win if you don't have.
Yeah, well, anybody can win sometimes, James, anybody can win sometimes. So, but if you want to win for a long period of time and be consistent about it, then there is some makeup to it. And I was talking about it right there. There is this, but let me say it in a different way. Great performers have a curiosity about them. There's a curiosity that burns in them to figure out what they got to know to be great. And that curiosity drives them to always be on. And they're always looking, and they're always listening, and they're always asking questions, and they always want to know how, why, how come, and it's that makeup that that really separates people. And I have one of the great examples in the history of sports is Russell Wilson. He is an extraordinary competitor, and he has this undying belief in himself, and he just can't not work at trying to get better. He is Michael Jordan. He is Kobe Bryant. He is Bill Russell. He is the great ones that you've ever been around. He is that makeup, and that's the epitome. That's the top of the scale with all the athleticism. And even he isn't gifted with all of the tools, but he's as good as you can come. But the makeup is really what you're looking for, and what really separates not just the great individuals, but also the great teams. The teams that are guided by the leadership that stand for those principles, those thoughts, and that kind of makeup. Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, Dwayne Brown, Greg Olson, guys in my club right now, they're just such fantastic competitors that they influence the people around them so much. And others have to go with them because they're so overbearing in their makeup. Back in the day, it was Richard Sherman and Doug Baldwin, and Bobby was there at the time, and Michael Bennett. And these guys were just crazed competitors, They're the ones. They're the ones that make the difference in it. And, I don't know that you can make that in people. You can enhance those attributes, but they kind of have it, and so you got to be lucky and find them. And they're not all the same at all. They're all totally different and unique in their ways, but that is the makeup that really divides, and separates people from others.
Thanks so much. You did say something about, anyone can win, but sustained success. Is there a key to sustained success?
Yeah, there is. It's knowing how you got there. It's knowing how you got there. And that comes from having a really fundamental understanding of what your approach is all about. And I don't think that there's anything more important than knowing yourself first. If you're going to be a consistent winner, you got to know who you are, and you got to know what's important to you so that you know what it took to win. Because if you don't know what it took to win, how do you get back there? You just luck out sometimes. It happens all the time in sports. Teams come together and the right elements happen, and they go out and they have a great year. And then the next year, they're not worth a darn. Just look at the Super Bowl teams after the history of the Super Bowl. Look what happens to the teams after they win a Super Bowl. And look at the success of those teams. And that comes from not knowing how you got there. Maybe it could be injuries, could be a lot of other things, but that's part of it, And so the great performers, I'll give you a quick little story. This is a real quick story, but Rick Barry was a great basketball player, played at University of Miami and played at the Warriors for years. And one time he was asked in a shoot around, you know, he was kind of a prick, you know, and didn't want to talk to reporters and all that. But he answered this one question. The guy said, "Do you have a philosophy that guides you?" And he said, "Well, I'm a 48% lifetime shooter. If I miss my first 10 shots, look out." You know, there's a guy that knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what he's all about. It doesn't matter what happens because he knows who he is so well that he's almost a 50% shooter. He misses 10, he won't make the next 10. And he lives and believes and totally is committed to that thought. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to find the consistency. You have to have a really clear belief and understanding so that you can recreate the success because you know how it happened. Otherwise, it just happens. And that's what normal people do. And it's you know, so that's a real course in self-discovery in itself. You know, that's what you have to go on. You have to find a way to figure out what's important to you, and then and get it written down so it makes sense, and so you can tweak it and mold it, and so that you can. And then one more stage of it, James, is that you got to take it where you can articulate it to the people around you, so those around you can walk in line with you, in accordance with you. Your fellow coaches that work for you can speak on your behalf because they know exactly where you're coming from. And it's from an individual to a coach. To me, it's to a mom and dad. It's to a business leader. It's to a religious leader. They got to know who they are and know what they're all about, or they're gonna falter, and you'll certainly fail trying to be somebody else. You know, and so that means you got to go back to being you. And so that's the key to it all, I think.
Thanks so much.
Coach, we would love to keep you here all night, but we want to be respectful of your time.
I appreciate it. We got to beat the Dolphins. That's right.
So a couple of quick wraps. First of all, thanks to everybody who came. I was afraid we were going to break Zoom tonight. We had hundreds and hundreds of Pacific students, faculty, staff, and alumni on, which was fantastic. Reminder, in April, we're going to have our football reunion for everybody who might be interested. I would be remiss if I did not note that Pete and Glenna are the lead contributors to a new endowed professorship in honor of Professor Meredith.
Yeah.
And which is just going to be fantastic and a perfect way to celebrate Professor Meredith and Pacific. Coach, two final one-sentence answers. Your favorite place on campus?
Well, my favorite place was the old gym, playing hoops in the old gym.
Okay.
But I really loved it when they used to flood the lawns right there by the tower.
And we're finishing up our campaign about purpose. So we always ask everybody, in a sentence, if you can, what is your purpose?
Yeah, my purpose is really clearly to me that it's about helping people find their best, and that's really the essence of it. And whenever I can't do anything but that. That's all I know how to do now. That's where my life has become as a coach. So it's helping people find their best.
Coach, we simply cannot thank you enough. This has been a fantastic evening. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute, and we can give, hopefully, a hearty tiger roar to Coach Carroll for joining us.
Love you. Go Tigers!
Yes, sir.
Shit about
Thank you, Coach.
See you guys. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.